All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Frantic Talks podcast, episode 77. I am your host, Frantic. With me, as always, is my lovely co-host,
Grunt. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone, indeed, and we are here to talk about gaming.
And junk.
So, technical difficulties aside, for some reason Grunt wasn't coming through, we're going to have a great episode today. We are back from a brief hiatus where you probably saw that we had an archive cast show up. We got some fun stuff to talk about today, including some Olympics talk, discussion of the new Magic decks. Very briefly, we'll mention that. Some Destiny stuff, and a couple other articles. We got a lot of cool stuff. Probably be a jam-packed episode full of random nonsense, just the way we like it. So,
the magical destiny of the Olympics. Boom.
The magical destiny of the Olympics. Somebody write that down because we're going to need that at the end of this episode when I name it. Anyways, we're going to jump into this. Like I said, it's episode 77. We're going to have a lot of fun here, but we're going to start this off, as we normally do, by talking about where you can find us and continue this conversation. So first things first, if you want to give us your thoughts on the episode, whether you agree or disagree with anything that we say, or you just want to kind of shoot the breeze, head over to Twitter and hit us up. I'm at FranticJ3. He is at Onyx Spartan, ONYX Spartan, all one word. And we are at Frantic_Talks. That is the official Frantic Talks Twitter account. Give that a follow. You will find where we tweet out all our articles, all our podcasts, all that fun, great stuff there. When we go live, if we don't go live, all of it will be there. Also, hit up our special podcast ghost, Freak Show 187 on Twitter. He likes to puntify things. He likes puns. You can talk to him about wrestling if you want to. He finally has internet. Working on getting him a laptop so he can hopefully start writing some more stuff, continue the Chronicles of All, or at least restart it, considering the laptop he had died. So, we'll talk about this.
Everyone dies in a horrific accident and, like, maybe some alternate dimension they get brought back to life or something. I don't know.
Something like that. I mean, that would be very unfortunate if that happened. Well, anyways, thanks for hit us up on Twitter. You can also head over to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word. That's where you can catch this show live every Saturday, usually, at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually. And we say usually because sometimes don't go live, life gets in the way. Good example is last weekend we didn't actually go live, but there was still an episode because we like to pre-record some episodes to get to you guys if we're going to have a week off or something. Also, you can head over to youtube.com, and this is where you can get what we like to call early access, which is the uploading of this podcast in its video form to our YouTube account. So search up Frantic Talks, hit the subscribe button, and usually around Saturday at 5 o'clock Eastern, you will get the podcast about 2 days early before you would get it on Monday in the audio form on the official Frantic Talks website. Speaking of the official Frantic Talks website, go over to facebook.com/Frantic Talks and hit the like button, but then go over to frantictalks.com, where you can find all the stuff that I just mentioned in the footer, along with links to our Xbox DVR, also a lot of articles that we've written, including one I wrote recently. It's all our podcasts are there. I'll cover that article in a second, along with usually a Monday article, a Wednesday weekly column, and typically we used to have Chronicles of All on Friday, something Freak Show did, but like we said, without internet or a laptop, kind of hard to do that. Hopefully we're getting back into the swing of things here shortly, though, so sorry for any disruption in service. Also, head over to magic.frantictalks.com, where we like to cover our articles on Magic the Gathering, and I think that about does it for all the links. But if all else fails, if you can't seem to find us for whatever reason, and you manage to find the podcast and just the podcast only, we have good news for you. 110 times out of 10, there's one thing you can do, and what is that thing, Grunt?
Direct yourself to your nearest search engine and just search Frantic Talks. You'll find us. I guarantee it.
We guarantee it. You have Grunt's word. A Lannister never breaks his vows. So, it's actually a Lannister always pays its debts, but whatever, I'm going to totally try that again. So, I don't know why the stream is slow, Brock. I do apologize if everyone else is experiencing that. Anyways, we're going to jump into this like we normally do by asking one very simple question, and this time it's going to have a slight alteration, but that is because Grunt was out last week. Grunt, how was your past few weeks?
Pretty busy. I've been doing various odd-end things, from organizing parts of my room to make room for more board games and that, so that way they quit falling out. Surprised they haven't fallen out of my closet to my right. Or the left of the screen, I think it is, the way everyone sees this.
Yeah, technically it's the left of the screen.
No, it's over here. It's over here, so...
Yep, that's the left.
Surprised none of them have fallen out, honestly, and while we've been doing a podcast.
I'd say it's very fortunate. 77 times in a row. Well, not 77, yes. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, 77-ish. But see, last Saturday, the reason we didn't have a podcast was not because of you, it's because of me. It's not you, it's me, man.
That's like the first time in history, I think. Literally,
Probably.
I think every time we haven't had a podcast, it's because of my nonsense. And I think for once I can finally blame you. Curses.
Yes. Yes. Local fair was happening that weekend. Went to it. Grandma mentioned a couple projects in there. Took home a best of show ribbon, which is pretty cool.
Hey, that is really cool.
Let's see. Then later that Saturday night, I went and played some EDH with a few friends and did absolutely horrible.
Yeah, you were telling me it was a rough night.
It was. The game went on for probably 3 hours in its own right. But we had someone who was playing a kind of like group hug deck.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was, though, is on my end, I kept having to discard cards because by like turn 4, we were able to draw like 2 or 3 cards at a time. So I was constantly having a larger hand since I wasn't drawing the cards I needed, which is basically land. So it was kind of a combination of mana screw and other unfortunate events.
Yeah, every game can't be winner, I suppose, you know.
No.
The downside of playing Magic, but either way.
It happens. You get used to it. Sadly. Game-wise, I've been playing some Skyrim in the meantime. That's been fun. I have made progress on like one of the main storyline quests and just a bunch of side quests I've done. Basically just defending myself from people that attack me for no reason whatsoever, mind you.
That's a thing in Skyrim? I always thought they had to be... Well, I guess that's not true.
Some leave you alone unless they're provoked. Others just attack you for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I think about it my time playing Morrowind, that was true, so I guess it would hold true 2 games later. I
certainly had nothing to do with it either.
Yeah, totally. You are innocent.
No.
Innocent in this ordeal. Okay.
Yes. Played a little bit of Rocket League and Destiny with you guys on, what was it, Wednesday? Thursday? Sometime this week, I do know.
Yeah, I don't remember what. I think it was Wednesday.
Crucible was a little bit rough on us that night.
Yeah.
Considering it's been like a month since we played the game, that's understandable. Or 3 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
And Rocket League was fun. Stupid shenanigans that always happen.
Again, check out our DVR and look at any of the Rocket League clips on our DVRs, which are in the foot of the Frantic Talks website. I'll scroll down and show it to you real quick where the link should be.
I can neither confirm nor deny that you may have dribbled the ball off a freak show to score a goal.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Also, I think the link was behind my face when I was scrolling down, so sorry for that.
Keep going.
Oh yeah, that was really dumb. It was a true accident. When you watch it from Freak Show's perspective, he kind of just bounced the ball and didn't even realize I'd hit it. So, but it was really great because it was awesome when you watch it back.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much been it. Went and put pre-ordered the new 2017 Commander set for Magic.
Did you?
Today, so.
Yeah, you pre-ordered one deck, right? You didn't pre-order all of them.
No, pre-ordered them all.
Oh, you did? Okay, nice. That's normally what me and my friends do. We split it X amount of ways, whoever, you know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I know which one I'm going to be going with, but I'll divulge into that later when we actually get there.
Yes.
So yeah, that's pretty much how my past couple of weeks have been. How about yours?
So I'm trying to remember everything that happened before the last weekend when you weren't here, and I don't really remember most of what happened that week. I know the weekend that we didn't have a podcast, I basically was like, I was binge watching wrestling because Freak Show talked me into getting a WWE Network free 30-day trial, and I just sat down and binged so much wrestling. And that was basically the gist of the week. I mean, I have played some games here and there, but that's kind of been most of my focus. Oh, and sorting Magic cards. Dear God, sorting Magic cards. That's why I don't remember it. It was so
mind-numbingly boring at times.
It can be. Honestly, I had a lot of fun because, so I have a bunch of rares that weren't sorted into a rare binder, right? A lot of people, when they go to like a local game shop, they'll take a binder of their rares and their quality cards, or at least they're cards that are worth something compared to the dirt cheap commons that you can get for 5 cents. The idea is you can trade with somebody. I'll give you X cards and you give me X cards, typically based on value. I used to have a big binder full of stuff like that. And then when I stopped kind of going and trading and just kind of keeping the cards that I like because I get emotional attachments to my cards for no reason, I was like, well, I don't need a rare binder if I'm not going to be trading. Well, I then organized all my cards alphabetically and by color, which took forever, but then I just had random rares sprinkled out there. And while it was nice to be able to say, I need one copy of this card, I know exactly where it is in that box, the problem basically came up to where it was like, oh, I just want to look at all my really good cards and then throw a deck together out of them. I can't really do that. I have to go build it from scratch, and it takes a lot of effort. So I decided after we did our pre-release, our homemade pre-release of Hour of Devastation, which I think was the weekend. Yeah, that's
a couple weeks ago, I think, because you did that when you did that the weekend we had a last live podcast, I believe. Yeah,
that's what I was about to say. I'm pretty sure after our last live podcast, we did a pre-made Hour of Devastation pre-release and haven't recorded since, so I haven't got to talk about that. And I'm not going to talk too much about it. It was really, we just got pre-release kits. I had a black polo with a piece of paper taped on it that said Magic Judge because I don't have a real Magic Judge shirt. And I also bought a booster box of Hour of Devastation and divvied out some prize packs. It was all good and fun. Then we did a quick little draft with some of the booster packs, which ended up being really fun as well. But when I got back, I had it all sorted by like rares and quality cards, and then I just had random commons and lands, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this for everything. So starting that week, I kind of started sorting rares, and then the weekend that we didn't have a podcast, I started going through all my decks I have not touched in years, along with all my cards that I already sorted all my commons and uncommons that weren't worth anything, sorted my uncommons that were, or my commons and uncommons that were like quality, and then I sorted all my rares and put my rares in the binder. And that binder is 40 pages thick, I want to say.
Oh, jeez, that's quite cute.
Those 9-slotted sleeves, double-sided. Oh, it's really big. It's like I need a 3-ring. I need like a 3-inch binder, not a 2-inch, because it's already filled to the brim.
Oh man.
So that was essentially what had happened this past week with my stuff, and it's now all nice and organized. Typically it's in this room actually, but I actually have it out in the living room where I've been organizing stuff because there's still a couple more random cards I got to sort through, but it won't take long. But that was the basic gist of my week, and then I'll just show you. I have 3 card sleeve boxes literally sitting next to me because I sat down this past like Saturday or Sunday. And literally, here's the 3rd box. I literally sat here binge watching that wrestling I was telling you about, and sleeved up 4 decks and inserted all 10 of my EDH decks into a tapped out .NET deck list thing. So I now know every card in every deck, the value of all of it, and if I'm going to go make a change, I can actually cut it and see how it affects everything. So essentially, I just got my Magic absurdly organized to the point where I'm very happy with it. And then the only thing left to do is upkeep, of course, because God knows I need upkeep.
Oh, right.
So that was...
And followed by what? Untap after that?
Yep. Yeah, well, no, untap upkeep would be my draw step.
Ah, draw step, that's right. I'm still new to this.
No, you're good. I got the joke, though. So, like we said, play some Rocket League and Destiny. That was all good and fun. And that's about the gist of everything I've done this week. It's been a lot of organizational and binge watching wrestling because Freak Show got me back onto it, and now I can't stop. I jokingly say I have 7 hours a week of wrestling to watch. It's actually technically true. If you count Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, those are 5 hours together alone. But I only watch like recaps and highlight matches of those. So in reality, I end up watching maybe 2 or 3 hours of wrestling a week. But it's still a lot.
I believe when you were talking about wrestling on Wednesday, because I remember you and Freak Show were talking about it when I first joined the party to play. Mm-hmm. I asked how long. I think it was the SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, one of the events that goes on like a weekly or monthly basis.
Yeah.
But with pre-show and everything, it was going to be like 6 hours worth of wrestling. It's like
SummerSlam.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it's the pay-per-view. That is on the 20th of August. And I don't know how long it'll actually be. Freak Show's probably more right there, but I'm not going to watch the pre-show, so, that cuts out like an hour or two.
I think he said it was actual wrestling was like 3 hours. Matches were about 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours, so he said there was at least 2 hours worth of pre-show in there, so.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. So, but that was essentially my week. Psst, plural.
Sounds like you were well organized.
Yes, it does feel nice to be organized and be able to say I can just look through my rares, see some stuff, and I've built. I built one deck purely out of cards I had, and then bought like 2 cards for it. Actually, it's
nice.
probably closer to 2. There were some cards I needed to buy that were a little on the more $5 to $6 range, but it was like I built this thing out of most of the stuff I had, which is a nice feeling,
nice.
and I'm actually going to get to test them right after this podcast, so that should be fun.
I want results.
I'll let you know for sure. Hopefully, I get to play at least one game with each of them, but we'll see what happens.
I should really sort my cards out like that. Put some sort of organizational effort to them, but it's like, yeah.
It does help too, because if you have a lot of rares and stuff and you aren't using them, you can take them to a shop and say I want to trade with somebody, and you can find stuff you want at the time, and they'll trade for whatever they want out of your binder typically.
Right.
Not every trade works. Sometimes people don't find the cards they want, or the cards they want are not close at all to the value of the cards you want. It all depends. So,
Right. I forgot to totally mention something else during my week.
oh, what?
The fact that I have started writing a kind of like RPG storyline to use for hopefully what I want to do is use it for a Dread style game and a D&D style campaign.
Yeah.
So that's been fun to work on as well.
I believe that, and I'm actually working on, not to overshadow you because that sounds awesome and I'm glad you're writing, but I was going to say in a similar vein, I'm working on a steampunk D&D setting to be used in Pathfinder, but I haven't.
Steampunk Pirates?
Steampunk Pirates and Clockwork Dinosaurs. Freak Show gave me the idea, and I'm excited for it. Also, Ixalan, the next... I think it's actually technically Echelon, but whatever. Ixalan, because that's what everyone's going to call it. The next Magic site is Pirates and Dinosaurs, so I was really wanting that, and I was like, I'll do it. Fuck it, I'll do it myself, or whatever the quote is. But a friend contacted me and was like, dude, you need to DM another D&D session. I'm like, oh, okay.
Fine.
Sure, I don't know what to write about. And then Freak Show says Clockwork Dinosaurs and Pirates, and I'm like, dude, you're right. Let's do that.
Got this. Yeah,
So
I have the general idea of how I want things to turn out, but there's a lot of meticulous planning that's going into it. So
right,
overthinking things. So
we'll wrap this up here, but essentially, whenever I'm writing stuff like that, I don't want to say I'm gifted in improvisation, but I tend to leave a lot of things open because I know where I want them to go, but I can't just steer them there and tell my story. And that's the hardest part, is there's a story I want to tell, and there's a story they're going to live through and tell themselves in the setting of my story. And that's the trickiest part of writing a D&D campaign, I've found, is making it not just encounter after encounter, and eventually there's a story kind of underlying it. It's tricky.
And that's the thing I've been trying to remind myself of is, leave some of the stuff open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you need to, you can work that into it, but, leave it open-ended. So
right.
It's been so interesting. As a matter of fact, my next article is partially going to be based around it.
I'm glad you mentioned an article. So let's segue from what we've been talking about to articles on the Frantic Talks website, which is on screen right now, specifically the Frantic's Antics article titled, "Where's Your Originality?" And this is an article I wrote. We posted this past Wednesday, and it talks about a lot of different stuff and can be applicable to what we were just talking about, having written our own stories for D&D. And I'm not going to spoil everything around it. I will give you the basis of where the article came from and what it's about. Basically, this new app that's going around everywhere was like this anonymous commenting app where you can post a link and people will post comments to you. I asked people to roast me. You can see it on my Twitter and my Instagram. I even posted to Facebook. And while I got some really funny responses, I didn't really get anything too harsh. Honestly, it was most like, I heard you like sucking dicks for beer and then don't even drink the beer because I can't have beer. And I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. I was like, that is good. That's the best one I got. But someone actually said, have you ever had an original thought? And I got a really good chuckle out of that. And I don't know if they were being serious or not. I don't care. But that got me thinking about it. And when I told this to Freak Show, we went on this conversation about, well, where's this original story or whatever. And then he had me go watch one of these YouTube characters who does the show called Wrestling with Regret, which is kind of like analyzing wrestling, and he's a really cool dude, Brian Zane. I would recommend watching it if anyone's interested. He does this bit, and then he's got a lot of good stuff. And then Freak Show also told me to go watch this rewrite of one of the biggest storylines that was in the WWE back when I was watching it, called the Invasion storyline. And then Brian Zane shows up in the video, and that's why I mentioned him. But anyways, I told Freak Show, I can see where Chronicles of All got some inspiration for one of their latest entries, because clearly, there were some similarities. And Freak Show said, yeah, my opinion is, there's not an original story left to tell in wrestling at all. It's all a matter of how you tell it. And I was like, dude, I can get behind that. That's pretty much how I feel about most things, People are like, these comic book movies are all the same. It's like, well, it's about the story they're telling. Sure, it's probably not going to be the most original, if at all original, but it's about how they tell it. And that's essentially what I say in the article, and kind of go in more depth about certain things, giving examples and the like. So if that's something you're interested in reading, definitely go give it a read. I had fun writing it. I wrote it really quick because I just had a very clear, concise flow of writing where I wanted it to go. So that was literally the first draft is what you will be reading there. I didn't actually go through and rewrite it or reread it or anything like that. Maybe once I did. That was literally my thoughts thrown into an article, and it actually worked. So if you're interested, let me know what you think of that article, your thoughts on it. If you agree, disagree, I'm always open to hear other opinions. I'm not going to shoot you down. I might debate with you, but don't take that as me saying I don't agree I don't agree. Don't take that as me saying I'm not listening. I really am. So that being said, Grunt says I got an article that hopefully he's writing about and we'll have out next week. And I'm 99% sure I know what he's talking about. Because you said it in the chat, didn't you? You said what it was going to be about.
Partially, yes.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just I'm pretty sure I remember what it is.
Partially, yes. But going back onto your article, I had a realization after reading it. So,
what's that?
The fact that literally 2 days after your article was posted,
mm-hmm.
or after I read it, after you had drafted it or whatever,
mm-hmm.
I asked, hey, is this idea that I want to include for my RPG an overused or cheesy idea?
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that point, I had already read your article, so I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
It took me 2 days to realize that, it doesn't matter that it's overused or not.
Mm-hmm.
It can be told a different way.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest arguments in this article.
That's what you should just read instead of us spoiling it.
Right, yeah, no, I don't think we spoiled too much. I think there's definitely still some good quality stuff in there, so definitely go give it a read. It's not a long one. It's not like a 10-page essay. It's maybe a page and a half at most, if we're putting it into Word 12-point font. So I typed in 11-point font, and it went on to the second page barely, so it's probably a page and a half.
Probably.
I just open up Google Docs and go with the default and just type. So, which I think is Calibri font 11's point. I think it's that. Whatever, who cares? We're talking about font in a gaming show. All right, let's talk about gaming, because this is getting out of hand here. All right, so actually, we're not going to
spend enough time.
In the loosest way possible, the game we're going to talk about is the Game of Thrones. Man, I'm good at segues. Actually, so if you haven't heard, HBO's been hacked. And there's been a lot of stuff released, like Game of Thrones stars' personal information, like where they live and stuff, which is actually kind of scary when you think about it.
That's bad.
That's very bad, especially, famous people. You're in the limelight to millions of people, and odds are there's at least one crazy person who saw this. Not to put whoever it was that information got leaked on edge, but hey, you probably already are. And I'm just helping the situation. All right. Game of Thrones, new episode 4 of Season 7, hasn't aired yet. It actually airs tomorrow or yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this. It'll air on this coming Sunday, the 13th, right? Yeah, the 13th. And 13th. You can actually watch it now based on these hacks. Now, the reason we're going to talk about this is very briefly because of how I responded to the title of this article and what the article actually says. So I'm going to read you the title of the article, and I'm going to tell you what I thought of what this was, and then we can actually cover what it says. So, Game of Thrones' new episode is available to watch, but you really shouldn't. Just trust us on this is the subheading. So, my initial thought was, you're going to tell me pirating's bad, right?
Right. I mean, pirating is bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that what you got from the title?
Well...
Or
yeah, kind of.
I almost said that I kind of feed it to you, now you're kind of tainted, but when you read the article, they actually just say, no, we downloaded the episode, and it's terrible quality, don't watch it. We're all thinking, yeah, we should have waited till this got aired live in a better format. And that's a funny little turn from where I expected, but then, where's my tinfoil hat? I'm going to put the tinfoil hat on. I have a Steam guide. Here we go. All right, so this is on my head now. So... basically, they're saying that it's bad quality, but in reality, they're just going anti-piracy and secrecy. Don't watch it, it's bad is really just them saying, you shouldn't watch it so we can get our money from it when it airs normally. And my tin hat fell off. Perfect timing, though. I was done with my theory. So, I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was really funny, the conclusion they came to and the way they came to it based on the title. I was expecting something entirely different.
Who knew? Piracy isn't a victimless crime.
Right?
Certainly not all the warnings that appear on literally every movie and DVD out there. You wouldn't steal a car, would you? No. You wouldn't download a car, would you?
I like how I can get right up on my mic and it sounds way awesome. Hopefully that doesn't destroy your earbuds. Okay, anyways.
Technically I have downloaded a car.
Okay, so you know what I mean. Forza does not count.
It does too.
Oh, alright, fine, okay. I mean, they downloaded a car and brought it to Xbox E3. That's what I believe. I don't know what you guys believe. That's exactly what happened. They were showing off new technology of 3D printing, creating a... What was it? Was it a Ferrari? I don't even remember what type of car it was.
I believe it was a Ferrari, yes.
It was clearly a Ferrari, guys.
Ferrari. All right, let's Porsche, one of the two.
Let's talk about Borderlands 3. I mean, not Borderlands 3. It's not Borderlands 3. Guys, it's not Borderlands 3. Look at Grunt.
Silent rage. Silent rage.
Silent rage. I don't know if you've heard, guys, but Gearbox is testing a 1v1 shooter meets card game called Project 1v1. That's an interesting concept. Is this the one where we were like, oh yeah, they're working on a new game, but it's not.
It's not Borderlands 3, Gearbox. We're through here. Oh.
Yeah, we're done. But for anyone interested, they're having an open, it's not even a beta, but I don't even know how to, it's a technical test. Yeah, technical test. Which I don't know. You can go on their website, you can sign up, and that's basically all the information we have. There's going to be ranked challenge and arena modes, and that's literally all we know. It looks like it'll be futuristic sci-fi based off of the screenshots. Other than that, that is all we know. I'm interested to see how that comes into play. If it's card game and collectible card game, kind of like how Battlefront uses cards in their game where you can swap out your loadout to have cards. I don't know. So hopefully we find out more about that. But the big thing here is that it's not Borderlands 3.
Why is it not Borderlands 3?
For whatever reason. I don't know.
All right. So we do know the fact that Gearbox is working on a new Borderlands game.
Mm-hmm.
They basically confirmed that at last GDC when they showed off a tech demo of the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Clearly they're not ready to show it off. Or this is just an elaborate ploy of something they want to test. So it's like, hey, this is our new game. Haha, wink, wink. It's only part of a new game.
Where's my tinfoil hat? Hold on.
I can't actually see you put on this tinfoil hat. So.
I'll show it to you afterwards. I'm going to open up so you can actually see it here. Okay, so feeding off of that, this is a secret demo to test the new Borderlands card system. But it's going to be mocked up and shown as some weird Project 1v1 sci-fi thing. It's the ultimate bait and switch.
Right. I mean, what better way to keep secrecy?
And my hat fell off again. Man, good timing on these hat things. The hat's in on it, guys. Okay. So,
but
I think I can actually fold this up and tie it under my helmet here. No, my headset. My helmet. What is this, football?
Are you wearing a helmet now? Hey, that was happening. That didn't happen the other day. Bears still suck.
Bears still suck, yeah. Now, Grunt doesn't know this. Hold on, I'm still getting this thing on my head. Okay, it's not moving. How does this even look? I don't even have my own stuff on screen right now. Oh, this looks so stupid. Okay, so speaking of football, Grunt thinks right now I'm drinking out of a Titans mug, or he might. I don't know. That's what I have. But Grunt, I want you to know.
Last I had known, it was a 2-liter bottle of Code Red.
Yeah, it's a 2-liter bottle of Code Red. I just told him I wasn't going to use it, but I've totally been drinking out of it this whole time. And for those audio listeners at home who aren't watching the video version, maybe this will entice them. I'm wearing not a tinfoil. I'm wearing my Steam Link guide on my head as a tinfoil hat here. Let's keep going with this conspiracy theories. All right, Bungie. Bungie has learned something from the Destiny 2 beta. Grunt, do you know what they've learned? Well, how to build a game, but otherwise.
Some stuff, I imagine.
Yeah, more or less.
I mean...
All right, that's that article.
I mean... I imagine they probably learned that some people wanted some changes to the super recharge rate and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Basically, there was some big complaints in the Crucible, especially from the Destiny subreddit. I saw that supers and Crucible took forever, and so did abilities, and it was basically just gunplay. And that was actually a big critique I saw from some big YouTubers, that it's like, why are we just getting a very heavily gunplay-focused game when I could get that from something like Battlefield or Call of Duty? The reason we play Destiny is to be Guardians, not Joe Blow with a gun. Right. Fair, that's a fair criticism. I can understand that. So what Destiny, or not Destiny, damn it, I was on a good streak.
What did it? 2 weeks in a row, it's probably more like 3-4 weeks in a row that you didn't do it.
Yeah, so...
This many days since last Destiny Bungie confusion.
Man, I need to get like a counter on screen of like days since last incident, and then every time just like reset it. Anyways, so the most notable changes. Now these apparently aren't all the changes, but that's what we are here to read. The most notable changes are a reduction in the time it takes to charge your super in the Crucible. That's good. Usually, how it worked was you got it once in the whole entire thing after 5 or 6 minutes. An increase in the frequency of power ammo drops when in PvE. But also that they won't be shortening the cooldowns for your abilities. So people were kind of upset that they were taking forever. But what they're going to do instead is increase the damage that the grenades do from these abilities. With the quote, "We want abilities to be slightly more rare, but worth it."
Does it say something about that change being specifically the damage, grenade damage being specifically done in PvE? I thought I read that in the weekly update. The one part I did read last night.
Right, yeah, it is actually on screen. It does say PvE. So in PvP, the grenades are still not going to be. They're going to be exactly the same as what we're seeing. So if anybody's interested in that, you can check out this article and probably the weekly update, because they probably mentioned more stuff in there. We haven't actually read that, but in the interest of interesting things to talk about, we're not going to talk about it. But
I think it's already a good step. I didn't expect them to implement changes into the PC beta.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense considering it's like half a month, whatever, after the console beta. So it would make sense that maybe they'd have a slightly different build with some tweaks made to it to try those out before final release. So it makes sense that they put some changes in there. And I think it's a good way to collect feedback. So if you have a PC that can play it, go play the beta.
You'll be able to get a little more feel of what changes they've done. So I imagine some of the big name people on YouTube are going to probably play the PC beta. Personally, I'm not going to, only because I'm going to play it on Xbox, and I don't want to learn everything on the keyboard only to get the beta closed on me by the end of it.
Nah, man, it's KB&M all the day. All day? All the day. All day. Whatever.
But in the interest of tinfoil hats, I got to come up with something here. They are not changing these things. Here we go. Make sure the hats understand that the hat is officially on, even though it's been on the whole time. They are changing all of these abilities because they want to be more like Call of Duty, because Activision rules over them, and Activision wants Call of Duty to make money. So Destiny 2 is just a Call of Duty spin-off. That's grade A shit right there.
All right.
It's a terrible conspiracy theory. If you take anything away from this podcast, don't listen to anything I just said with a tinfoil hat on, or at any point in this podcast.
So pretty much from where we talk about, what was it? Where we talk about Borderlands 3.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so anyways, interesting news there.
This is what happens when we don't do a podcast on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we get all
crazy.
Yeah, but we didn't even mention what was last week's topic on the archive cast. The right or wrong way to play games was what we had discussed.
Do it now.
Oh, sorry, Grunt. Please feed it to me the way you were planning.
I mean, just mention it at the end when you're discussing everything else about the podcast. And
yeah, I guess that's fair. Anyways, we did discuss that. We'll talk about that later.
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard. No, I'm a tinfoil hat wearing dude. Anyways, we're gonna move on to.
You're a wizard. Transition.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say that's a good transition to Wizards of the Coast here, otherwise known as the guys who own Magic the Gathering. the Magic the Gathering Commander 2017 deck lists have been released. If you are interested in this, this is the first time they're going to be doing 4 decks instead of 5, and they're actually moving into this model moving forward, which has different reactions. Basically, we don't get to complete color cycles anymore. That was the reason there were 5, because there's usually 5 pairings of colors. Instead, we are going to be doing 4 and doing different themes and whatnot. So the first attempt at this is 2017, like tribal themes, kind of iconic themes. So the 4 deck themes, we kind of knew about them, but there was a lot of guessing and kind of like some stuff got leaked. But it is official that they are cats or felines. Well, yeah, they did get leaked, or at least 1 or 2 of them did. I want to say cats and dragons got leaked pretty early on. But then the other 2 were still unknown until they basically announced them. So it was cats and dragons were the 2 that we all knew about for the most part. And then there was wizards and vampires. So those lists are up. There's a lot of really cool cards in these decks. The Feline Ferocity is green-white, which is the cat deck. It's got a lot of cool cards in there. Personal favorite card from there is Mirari's Wake, $15 enchantment, finally getting reprinted, about time. Vampiric Bloodlust is the vampire deck, obviously. It's red, white, and black. Mardu colors, if anyone's curious. The first one was Selesnya. I'll start sprinkling in random Magic info, and people are eventually just going to understand this game without having ever played it. But,
I mean, that's how it worked with me.
But yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's any really crazy reprints in here. Like Sword Splasher is a cool one, but for the most part, there's some good reprints in this deck. Nothing stands out that's crazy to me, but that looks like a fun deck. There's also Draconic Domination, the dragons. All 5 colors are included in this deck. Grunt's excited about that because, one, his Scion Flayers deck is a dragon deck that's 5 colors featuring Scion of the Ur Dragon, who is also in this deck. Where is he at? There he is.
Right. Fun fact about that, too. When I found out saw the deck list the other day, I was looking through it, and it's like, man, a lot of these are dragons I already have in my Scion deck. And then I was looking at some others in the deck list, and it's like, man, this is practically everything that I had considered putting into my Scion of the Ur Dragon deck. So it's like, huh.
So yeah, that's that deck list looks really cool. There's a couple of cool reprints, but nothing crazy that stands out to me off the top of my head. Fist of Suns is a cool reprint. But other than that, I can't really see anything off the top of my head like I'm saying here. And then lastly, Arcane Wizardry. The Wizards deck is Grixis colors, which are red, black, and blue. And this deck also has some really cool cards, like Marchesa and some other really cool dudes. Arcanus, Niv-Mizzet, the Dragon Wizard. Fun fact, they printed both versions of Niv-Mizzet, the Dragon Wizard. One in the Wizard deck and one in the Dragon deck, which is pretty cool. But those decks are... Huh?
I still want both.
Indeed.
I've got the Draco Genius.
Yeah, I have...
Oh, it's the Fire Mind that I don't have.
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 Fire Minds, actually. Same time I build a deck with the colors he has, he needs to go in. So these 4 decks are up for pre-sale, I believe, at $120 just about anywhere you go. It's typically around $40 per deck. You might be able to get them a little cheaper at your game shop, like local game shop, depending on their quantity, availability, all that great stuff. And ultimately, I'm excited. These deck lists looks really fun, and it's going to be nice to be able to play 4-person Commander instead of 5, because that always seems to be a little odd bit of a number. 4 is typically the best number to be played with. If I had to pick a favorite deck list, I don't know. Since I haven't really gotten to play or analyze them, but they seem all pretty good. I don't know. What do you think, Grunt?
I'm going to just show straight up bias and say dragons, because dragons.
Well, to be fair, your favorite deck should be biased.
Right. True. But I think, from a lot of the people I play with, they've said that the Wizard deck and the Vampire deck are going to be the 2 decks that do well from there. So, from what I've seen of the Dragon deck, it looks like it's going to fit well with my play style.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just don't know. My current Scion deck has a lot of features to ramp up to the mana, because dragons are expensive to play.
Yeah, that's very true. Most dragons cost 5 or 6 mana, somewhere in that realm.
Right. So I don't know what it's going to have for that. I always tend to get the mana screw whenever I play. So,
and trying to fit 5 colors is tough to assemble all the colors there. So that could be
right.
proven to be problematic for sure.
Right. So
Well,
I think that one's going to be my favorite because it's obviously going to be the one I go with.
right, but what'll be
But
awesome is you get that, and you can then kind of put together the pieces of it you like and the pieces of your Scion deck if you so choose.
right, and that's probably what I'll do with it
Yeah, that's not a
at
bad
some point.
idea. I always think that whenever I buy a pre-constructed commander deck, I'm like, oh, these decks are cool. I'll take some pieces out and put some pieces in. And as I say that, having looked through all my Magic cards, sitting right here next to me, I'm actually going to show you this. In these lovely mustachioed card sleeves, is the Bant Commander Daravi. This is literally the same pre-con deck with like 2 cards taken out of it that I have probably played once since I bought it. And then next to that is from 2014 or 15, Daxos the Return, the Orzhov, the white-black deck.
Mm-hmm.
It is still in sleeves from the day we played it, and I have yet to play it again.
3 years ago, probably.
And then only recently did I take apart So one of the biggest commander things to happen, besides the very first set of commander decks being very expensive, was the year they printed the 3-color commander decks, and one of them had True Name Nemesis in it. The Mind Seize deck, I want to say, which is also Grixis, same as the Wizards tribe here. And it had True Name Nemesis in it, who gave you protection from a player. And that card was so busted in Legacy that the card itself was worth the deck list. And so people were buying deck lists or the decks from retail places like Walmart and reselling just that card and making their money back.
Oh my God.
Myself included. So I still had that deck sleeved up just with the Nemesis swapped out for another card so I could get the money off the Nemesis and then just go do whatever. And then I had the red artifact deck from when the year they printed Planeswalkers as commanders. I had that still sleeved up till I unsleeved it. So I sit here thinking, oh, I'm going to buy one of these decks and have a really cool deck and then take the pieces out I like and build my own deck. And then I never do. I hope that you can understand that I think you should do that and actually do it, not just say you're going to do it like I do.
I mean, I did that with my first commander deck. It was the I can't think of the actual name of it, but it was the Yidris Maelstrom Wielder deck from 2016.
So my Traxa deck is still sitting somewhere around here in sleeves. Haven't played it yet.
That one can get out of hand.
That one is really crazy, and that's the only one I still have in sleeves and intend on playing in sometime in the future. I just enjoy playing the stuff I've built if we're not playing in an environment of everyone built theirs using pre-con, so I don't know, I'm weird. But if I'm going to add my 2 cents to what your friends said about how they think vampires and wizards will probably do better, from what I've seen, those do look like the better of the two because the other two have glaring weaknesses. The cat deck is a Voltron deck, I think if I'm saying that right, which is essentially assemble every piece of equipment onto one character and hope for the best. In a multiplayer format, that can be a little rough because you can only take out one person at a time. And the dragon deck, we kind of already said, the 5 colors could be problematic. Right. So I can see the other two being probably better, but play what you want to play. If you like cats, play cats. If you like dragons, play dragons. If you like vampires or wizards, go for it, dude. No one's gonna stop you. And if they do, they can go suck a big one. Is my opinion on that.
And with this, I also learned that cat dragons are things.
Yes, they are. That's a really funny one, and I don't remember the name. Oh, they aren't going to have a picture of it now that I say that. But there's a cat dragon now. It's a dragon in the dragon deck. A cat dragon in the dragon deck, to be fair.
Yes. So,
all right, and that is definitely interesting. Those release August 25th, right? That's the day? Yep, August 25th.
2 weeks from yesterday, Friday.
Yep, 2 weeks from yesterday, you can get your hands on these new commander decks at your local game shop. They should be in like your local Walmart if you don't have a local game shop, or like a Meijer. They should all be there, hopefully. I know Meijer is actually slower to get their Magic stuff on the shelves. At least the one by me was. But you can also I would suggest going to your local GameStop first before you go to like a Meijer or Walmart if you can't find the deck you want. But, you do you. And lastly, let's talk about something very interesting in the news that is... I don't know, personally, I'm torn on it, but let's just talk about it, and that is, hopefully I'm at the very top of the article. We are. Yay. Paris is mulling over the inclusion of eSports into the 2024 Olympic program. So, this is this is a thing. This is an interesting one, because I think you guys have probably could already guess where, at least I come from, and I'm pretty sure Grunt comes from, where we talked about how eSports are indeed a sport in our mind. Because of, how hard it is, how consistent you have to be, the mental energy, the reflexes, all that stuff.
Still waiting for that esport doping scandal to pop up.
So somehow it's going to happen. You know it is. But anyways, they're mulling over it, and interestingly enough, they have some pretty good citing of information in here as to why they'd be looking into it. And I'm going to say what actually Philip DeFranco said, because I pretty much agree with him on this level, that from a business standpoint, it makes way too much sense. But from the sports side of it, it's a tough call. So let's talk about the business standpoint first. And that is, ESPN shared this statistic, I believe. Audiences of esports fans expected to reach 145 million people this year, per data gathered by Fortune. So not ESPN, my apologies. And they even say in this article, it's no wonder Olympic officials might seize a share of these viewers. So from a business standpoint, makes way too much sense. And
exposure is what you need in something like that. So
absolutely. If I recall correctly, the Olympic numbers are actually dwindling. Like, watching is slowly declining. So, this could give a quick breath of fresh air into it, possibly.
It would probably bring in those darn millennials. Anyways.
Right, those stupid millennials. What are we going to do, ruin the Olympics next? Oh, jeez. Tinfoil hat, that makes sense here.
Oh, God.
I forgot it was on my head for a second there until I went up to scratch my head. Anyways, but basically, one of the big drivers behind this is that the Asian Games will actually debut esports as an exhibition event before their official program in 2022. So there is already some push for this, at least in the Asian market. And they're going to be doing Dota 2, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, and an unknown sports game at this time. They aren't sure what game they're going to choose. People are speculating NBA or FIFA.
FIFA, honestly. That'd be the better choice. It's more recognized worldwide than NBA.
Right. So I
guess basketball is pretty popular too, so I can see it going either way.
Right. I would think FIFA, just because football, as most places will call it, or soccer in America, football is from now on. If we say football, that's what we're talking about. It's pretty much one of the biggest sports everywhere except the United States, where football is the big sport. So we kept the name, but changed it. Hand egg, yeah. We changed it completely. So I'm torn on this, because I understand the argument against it, and the argument is on the side of, is it an actual sport? And don't take that as us saying, are these real athletes? The physical aspect of it is the biggest red flag in my mind, at least to the average viewer. So, they sit in chairs and play games. To many people, this would seem lazy, but it's not necessarily how it works. But it's a matter of hand-eye coordination and reflexes and stuff. But that's where the big line is drawn, is the physicality of it. And that's, I think, going to be the biggest hurdle to get this into the mainstream for Olympic Games. I don't know. What do you think, Grunt?
I have to agree with that. That's going to be the biggest part to getting it going.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be great to have it in there because it would bring exposure to esports. I mean, a huge step in bringing that to making esports more recognized in the mainstream was ESPN designating part of their own website to it.
Right. That's a good point.
So, it's gradually gaining the exposure into the mainstream world.
Mm-hmm.
Having it in the Olympics would definitely help with that exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said earlier, it makes sense from a business standpoint. I don't know, man. I don't watch a lot of esports in general, so I probably wouldn't watch it even if it was an Olympic sport or an Olympic program or whatever the right term is.
Right. I get you.
So it wouldn't make any difference to me, other than certain countries boosting their medal count. I'm not going to name names.
Oh, jeez.
That probably doesn't even happen.
Tinfoil hat. It does.
So, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It'd be cool to see it there because it'd be a great milestone for, esports and gaming in general, making it more realized that, hey, video games are okay to play. They're not some evil thing that sit there and make you lazy and make you waste your time. They're great time wasters.
Right.
From when you want to be lazy.
So one of the biggest thoughts that came to mind in my head that I hadn't heard too many people talking about, or at least I haven't seen any people talking about it. Odds are I might be looking in the wrong spot. But when I thought about it, I was like, on the grand scale of the Olympics, the idea is everyone's on equal footing and everything works the way it does. So essentially, if I'm going to go into a 400-yard dash or 400-meter dash, I'm on the same level as the guy next to me, and there's nothing that's going to stop us. And what I mean by that is with gaming is coded. Literally. Video games are coded in programming. That means that the programming has to be flawless, bar none.
That's actually a very good point, and I did not think of that.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is people haven't been talking about that, and I think that's an interesting point to bring up because, if a glitch happens and it costs somebody a medal, that's a lot different.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's big. When I'm doing shot put or if I'm doing, shuffleboard or something, I guess equipment malfunction is the closest thing. It's not shuffleboard. What's it actually called? Skee ball? What's the one where they push it across the ground and they like scrub the ground forever? What's it actually called?
Curling.
I don't know where I got shuffle. Oh, it's a lot like shuffleboard. But anyways, you know what I meant.
Shuffleboard on ice.
Yes, exactly. So, I guess the only equivalent you can come up with off the top of my head is equipment failure. And I don't know how much I've heard about that, but I know it's a thing. I've heard about it in like American football. I hear it every now and then. That's a thing that happens. So I guess you could claim that a glitch or a bug would be quote unquote equipment failure, or maybe a mouse is clicked too much and then the button stops working halfway through. I guess it's bound to happen, and that's what you can lean back on that as the argument against games being coded the way they are and glitches and all that. It's just, I don't know, it was another aspect that came to mind and I hadn't heard anybody discussing, and I was just like, that's really got to be kept in mind.
Yeah, game developing, this from the line of work you do.
Mm-hmm.
Coding something to work perfectly every single time is nigh impossible.
Yes,
something
exactly.
Something is bound to break at some point.
Yeah, I literally, our software that we have at the job I have has been around since the early 90s, and we still are finding bugs in the stuff that was coded 10 years ago. I mean, it's hard to say,
Yeah, so, and a few years ago, we just had a bunch of games released that didn't work when they were released. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, there could at least be some vetting process of what games could be used based on how well they're created, and then I also another one thought that keeps coming to mind is like the randomness in the games. Something like Rocket League, everything's on a set timer. The physics work the way they do, and there's no random abilities given out halfway through. So I don't know how like Dota works or StarCraft, having not played them, but that's something that definitely should be in consideration.
You mentioned Hearthstone earlier. Hearthstone is basically just a, I think World of Warcraft themed version of Magic the Gathering. Just
yeah,
it's a virtual card game. So you still have to deal with the random draws from your deck. That's
right.
Huge.
But poker is a professional sport, and poker is a really big comparison to like professional Magic players, where I've heard a lot of people, like big names in the Magic community, saying if you're playing this for the money, you should go and play poker instead. So
Magic's more fun.
Right, Magic is more fun, but if you're doing this solely for the purpose of winning money, you're going to push the game in a direction that it shouldn't go in, which is building the best thing possible. I mean, that's a topic for a different discussion, but just so you're aware, that's something that is discussed a lot when it comes to competitive Magic. So I assume that would apply to Hearthstone as well. Poker is one of those that's really on the line of whether it's actually skill or if it's luck.
Right.
So that would probably fall in the same category, I would imagine.
Right, and if we look at comparing, our normal gambit of Olympic sports to things like that where it relies on or has some form of randomization in it,
mm-hmm.
From things like swimming and the track and field events, hockey, ice hockey, rugby. That was my guilty pleasure during the last Summer Olympics. They usually rely on who the better athlete is.
Right.
So if you throw in a act or something that causes a randomization, something to be randomized in that's kind of defeating the whole purpose of who the better person is, in my mind.
Yeah, if something could come down to a coin flip, you've lost the skill and have gone into the luck-based setting.
Right. It's just who is going to be the luckiest. And I don't think who is being the luckiest is something you should have in something as big as the Olympics.
Absolutely. As much as I would love for gaming to ascend to this level where it's an Olympic sport, the barrier to entry and all these things that are kind of standing in its way are self-inflicted on their own. When I imagine more than likely it might get in, but there will not be short of controversy. And I imagine some of the things we discussed just now could come up at that point. But we are not the
email to the IOC about that topic.
I was going to say we are not
the. Did you guys ever discuss this?
We are not the ones that are going to be making this decision. It's people who I would argue are probably more smarter than us about this. But that doesn't stop us from having discussions about it and being interested in the outcomes and learning more from this. So I want to pass the question off to you guys listening at home or wherever you're at. What do you think? Should gaming get into the eons of Olympic games, basically? Should esports be there? Yes, no, maybe. Your reasonings behind that, always welcome. The best place to hit us up will be Twitter, and we'll get to all those links here in a second. But let us know what you think. We're definitely interested in hearing more about what you guys think, and this is something that's not going to happen for another 7 years, potentially. We'll find out if it's happening much before then, but it's something that we won't see for another 7 years, so who knows where gaming technology will ascend to by then. I mean, think about where gaming was in 2010, where it is now, and now imagine that much more advancement in 7 years. You can imagine it might be a little different than it is now. To the point of where maybe virtual reality is how we do these games. People jumping around in a virtual helmet. Who knows? Could happen, could not. We don't know. I don't know how to tell the future. But that being said, like I said, let us know what you think. And with all the other stories, whether what's your favorite upcoming Commander deck? What do you think of the Destiny 2 changes that they were coming out with? Also, Borderlands 3, are you upset that it's still kind of just hiding in the shadows and we don't even know if it's Borderlands 3 yet?
I'm so mad, Valve. I mean Gearbox.
Also, if you agree with any of my tinfoil hat predictions and conspiracies, please don't agree with them. But if you do, I get more power to you. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off because it's like getting in my face now. Okay, tinfoil hat off. Steam Link guide off the head. All right. So let's wrap this up here. So if you want to tell us what you think, like I just said, all of that information, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at FranticJ3. He is at Onyx Spartan, ONYX Spartan, all one word. And we are at Frantic_Talks, which is the lovely Easter egg in our logo, I like to point out. That is the Frantic Talks Twitter account is where you'll find all of our articles, podcasts, tweetings about when we go live, when we don't, schedule changes, all that great stuff is there. Just follow us, maybe turn on notifications if you want. We don't tweet all the damn time. We usually just tweet with articles and when we're going live. But it's all up to you. Follow us, have fun conversations there. You can also head over to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word, to join in on the conversation live. That way, when we pass the question off to you, you can get your opinion voiced and heard in the podcast itself, or just get a cool shout out, who knows. Whatever you're into, I guess. But that is usually live every Saturday, usually, at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually, because life gets in the way, just like last Saturday when we didn't go live, but had an archived cast. Also, you can head over to youtube.com to get what we like to call early access. Search up Frantic Talks and hit that subscribe button because we upload the video form of this podcast right after going live, and you can usually get it around 5 p.m. Eastern, depending on what time the podcast ended. But you'll see the video version of it. You also get to check out the genre guessing game, the old Sunday show that we did with music recommendations and analysis that I would do on metal music. You can also head over to facebook.com/Frantic Talks. All one word, hit that like button, like I think 135 people still. Is that the right number?
I believe so.
Like 135 others have. That's where you get a more Facebook form of Twitter. So articles, podcasts, all that stuff will be posted over there as well. Facebook is your preferred format. Or you can head over to frantictalks.com and find everything I just mentioned in the footer, along with links to our Xbox DVR, where you can check out some of our really cool clips, like the Rocket League clips we mentioned earlier in the podcast. You'll also find the archived podcasts all there, along with articles that we posted. Typically, an article will go up on Wednesday and a podcast on Monday, and we're trying to get our Friday series, The Chronicles of All, back. But that is hit some road bumps. We'll eventually get there. You can also, like I said, we'll mention it now, the archive cast from last week, where we talked about episode 76, where we talked about the right way to game or the wrong way to game. It was a fun little 30-minute episode because it's an archived podcast, not a full-length one like we do live. Fun little topic, and you can let us know where you stood on that because that was a fun podcast to record. So, and also magic.frantalks.com. That's where you can find all the Magic the Gathering articles we've written along with the 10-episode podcast I did. That link is on the Frantic Talks website, or you can just type it in. Or you can also join us on our Discord channel. I always forget to mention Discord. That link is pinned on our Twitter profile. And that is where you can type a lot more than 40 characters and discuss maybe this episode, other episodes, whatever you would like. But if all else fails, if for some reason you can't find the Frantic Talks website or Frantic Talks whatever, 110 times out of 10, Grunt, what can they do?
Direct themselves to their nearest search engine and just search Frantic Talks. They will find us.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
All right. Well, that does it for us, unless you have anything else to add, Grunt.
I don't think so.
Alrighty then. Well, I hope you guys had a fun time today. Let us know your thoughts on what we had discussed. Like I said, love to hear where you stand, especially on that Olympic Games one, given everything we had mentioned. Like I said, we love esports, but at the same time, we're on the fence about it. Definitely can understand why they might not put it on there, but I can understand why they would. So let us know what you think. Definitely interested to hear that. And you'll have to catch us live next time, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. So that about does it. I'm Frantic, guys.
I'm Grunt.
And we'll see you guys next time.